So, hello everyone, thank you for attending. I'm Bogdan and I'd like to talk a bit about the journey towards being a full stack developer. To get things started, I also have the Q&A thing set up. You can already start asking questions there throughout the presentation, and in the end, I'll just put it on the screen and talk to everybody to see how that goes out. A bit about myself. I like technology. In general, I like playing around with whatever's new tech to see if it makes sense, if it can make my life easier, if it can help me be even more lazy than I already am. I don't really have a preference for a programming language. I don't want to say that I'm language agnostic because that would imply that I know all of them. I don't. I just prefer to use the best tool that suits the problem at hand, be it, I don't know, Python if it's a machine learning task, Node.js if I want to build a web application, and so on and so forth. I'm lazy, so I like to automate stuff. Instead of doing the same thing twice, I'd rather build a script that does it once. That kind of goes in the whole continuous delivery mindset because I don't really like having to repeat the process. The mic's here. Myself, I like snowboarding, bouldering, and rock climbing, and I'm not necessarily good at either, but I'm trying and not to injure myself too much. And I thought rapid development sounded cool and rapid application development, hence this presentation and this whole journey towards full stack and building things in a more agile, dynamic, and fast way. But now to the presentation at hand. What's it about? I want this talk to be something that helps people who have heard about full stack or want to go into the whole full stack methodology have an easy stepping stone, because a lot of the time it's taken with a grain of salt. It's seen as extra responsibility, extra work, not necessarily a good thing. I won't be talking about how to be the best full stack, the one to rule the most, or the one that knows everything, but more of a, if I'm a dev guy or a QA guy, what does this mean to me? For me, how do I full stack? Is it something difficult? Do I need extra time? Can I do it at work? How exactly does that work? Where do I start? Is there a full stack 101 course somewhere? And what tool set can help me? Can I just keep writing code and become full stack at some point? What exactly does this mean? As I said, throughout time, I found that the idea of full stack has been met with a lot of fear and stigma. People are usually afraid that, oh, now I'm expected to be a full stack developer. Does that mean that I need to know everything? Does that mean that now I have to be the one in the team that does everything? I can no longer hand over the testing to QA, or I'm a QA. Do I need to do the dev for the work now? What does that mean to me? Do I need to have that extra work on my side? Can I no longer ask for help? Like, if now I'm also the ops guy, do I now need to also put my code somewhere and it has to work, but I don't know how to do that? How can I learn? Would that affect? These are the fears that a lot of us, all of us, tend to have throughout time. And also, if I do everything, then it's no longer a process. I no longer hand my code over to QA. What does that mean? How do things work now? I'd like to talk a bit about all of these small fears and just state up front that they're just fears. Starting off with no. Starting off with no. Trackpad with left hand, not bad. And yes, I don't know everything. Well, nobody knows everything. This goes hand in hand with the HR expectation. I want a 20-year-old who has 10 years of experience to do the job I have for him. Nobody knows everything. The idea of full stack isn't about knowing everything. It's about being willing to try things out, being willing to also fulfill that role, to also be able to provide that for the product you're trying to build. Trying not to throw things over the fence. Not having a QA team doesn't mean that you're building either a bad code or that you need to be a QA expert. It just means that you need to be aware that your code is supposed to not fail. And at the same time, testing your code also means that you need to be sure to think about when testing it or building it, that it has to go into production. What will be the consequences? How will things be affected from that point on? the fact that you can no longer ask for help. Well, you will still be part of the team, and ideally now a full stack team where everybody's trying to pitch in the best he can. Being full stack doesn't mean that now you're the one in the team that has to do everything. It just means that now you don't artificially limit yourself to not do things just because it's not your role. Roles are quite artificial in that point of view. If you do a task and you see how doing another small thing that is supposed to be for the other team can help the overall product that you're trying to build, why not just do it? A lot of the times I've seen a huge ping pong of emails, of tasks, of chores being sent from the QA team to the ops to the whatever department, whereas the first person who identified the issue could have just made the change and just provided a better product for the whole team that's working on it. This is the mindset that somebody trying to be full stack should be, just to invest the effort that he can invest into providing a good product. Again, everybody being full stack around you just means that you can just ask anybody for help. Don't need to know anything. You don't need to know everything. But if you have, I don't know, a testing problem that you can't master because you can't have 20 years in testing after you worked 20 years in development or something like that, just ask. And also it means that you're no longer trying to cherry pick tasks. Being full stack doesn't mean that you do everything completely, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're trying to pick what you want to do. Everybody has a certain domain of expertise. I'm a developer, somebody's a QA, somebody's done ops. Being a full stack team doesn't mean that you just change your title to full stack, or shouldn't mean that you just change your title to full stack and then you as an ops guy only pick the ops problems. No, it should mean that when a task has to be done, you handle it in a vertical slice. You develop it, you test it, you make sure it works, you deploy it. Expertise will always be expertise, and if you get stuck, you ask for help, but it should never mean that you cherry pick only those things that you are good at. It does mean that the people who are really good at something can offer support to the others who can't master it yet. And there will always be somebody that's better. This going to the fear that now I can no longer ask for help because I'm full stack and I should know everything. Well, there will always be an expert. Just go up to them and ask them. The fact that now you have the title to do everything doesn't mean that you necessarily can't do everything, and that's perfectly fine. We are all humans, and nobody will chop your head off if you just, I don't know, you can't write that very complex Cypress test because you haven't worked with it for so far, or you can't do the canary build in AWS because you don't have many years of ops cloud development. But ask the people that do, and they'll help you out. And just asking and trying to siphon from the knowledge that they have just makes everybody better at the whole product. And you will end up in a position where you will kind of know things. There will always be situations where you do need an expert because an expert still is an expert. But in general, there are a lot of common tasks that kind of everybody can do. And don't take me wrong, full stack isn't necessarily the evolution of an expert. It's just like a manager isn't the evolution of a programmer. You've been 10 years a programmer, now you're supposed to be a manager because you have the age for it. No, a full stack developer and an expert go hand in hand. You both are beneficial to the development of a product. Don't see it as one is better or the other. This is just a different way of doing things, and I'll get later to the point as to why it actually might be beneficial for you to try it out. And again, full stack isn't neither a medal of honor or a badge of sacrifice. You being the full stack on the team doesn't mean that, okay, now you're supposed to have sleepless nights to figure out that problem because now you're the one who's supposed to be doing it. The hell with that. Ask somebody who can help you. If you're stuck, if you just can't get further on with the task at hand, ask a friend, an expert, somebody who knows the matter. Don't be afraid that now you being in that position, well, it's on your head. You either do it or you leave the company. Nobody should expect that from anybody. And regarding the process, yes, as in a full stack development team, you no longer like you do the development and then you hand over things to QA and then they send things to the ops guys and then all that ping pong, but that doesn't mean you don't have a process. You still have the same, you should still have the same process. You should still have development after which you test, and then you deploy, and then you go back if something goes wrong, and then you reiterate whatever development model you want to follow, but you still have the process. It's just that now if everybody understands and can use the process, nobody needs to throw stuff over the fence anymore. Now, if you know that the test will crash, you can handle it right now, or you take action when something crashes and, oh, that was my change that did something. How about I just go into the testing machine and do the fix that has to be done and then come back and things like that. It's a matter of having speed towards product development, not necessarily that now I finish all my part and then it's their job doing it. We are supposed to be part of a team, and everybody's supposed to contribute to the common goal of the product that we are trying to build. Now, what defines actually a full stack engineer? And this is, again, my opinion, how I see it and how I think that people should strive for. First off would be attitude and willingness to adapt. It's not a matter of, I know everything, now I'm supposed to be the expert in that one thing. Things change, things always change. Like even the presentations before, and even the people from N26, they went through 5 iterations of technologies and of tech stacks because technology has just evolved. It's important to be willing to evolve, and you will never be able to do that if you're locked down into, I'm the expert that does this. You can see it as, I'm the expert that writes the perfect Java code, and I don't want to do that because now it's still relevant. But switch back 5 years ago, if you would hear somebody say, I'm the expert that writes the best COBOL code, he'll be obsolete now. Like being the best Java guy now will probably be obsolete in 10 years from now if you just don't want to adapt. What else? General knowledge and know-how. Again, being an expert is good, but I would say it's as important to be able to know how to tackle problems. It's not about finding the perfect solution, but even Googling is a skill. Knowing that if you see a problem of a certain type, how would you approach it? How do you handle it? Who do you ask? Even knowing who do you ask is something that is quite important for somebody who's trying to grow. Not necessarily always, okay, this is a Java problem, I go to the Java guy. This is an ops problem, I go to the ops guy. Trying to figure out, okay, something failed in the pipelines, some machine ran out of memory, what could have caused that? Usually if somebody who is aware of the whole process sees that and tries to find a solution for it, it might be a lot more beneficial for the whole team and product, especially time-wise, if he just does it, instead of sending ping-pongs back and forth Friday at 8 p.m. that the build on production failed. Working in vertical slices. By this, what I try to say is, when you have a task, try to make the whole task yours. As in, you want to build a feature, have this button red on our side from now on. Try to do it, build it, test it, see if it works, integrate it into the pipeline, deploy it, and actually see if it's live. And one person understanding this whole process and trying to do it will be much faster than somebody writing the code and then handing it over to a tester, sending it to ops, testing it on live, so on and so forth. And also having a general overview mindset. Try to see the big picture in what you do. This goes especially if you look at things the other way around. Don't see it as the dev guy doing the testing. But what if you're asked to do a task that from the whole architecture point of view just doesn't make any sense? Try to have that view of what will this impact the whole product that you're trying to build, because in the end, you shouldn't strive to be a guy that writes that line of code. You should strive to be somebody that builds a reliable product that will be beneficial for wherever you work in, be it your own company or somebody else, and would also be helpful for your team. And in general, it's not about being an expert in everything, but being able to tackle anything. Yes, I am horrible at Java, but if I would get a Java task to do, how to Java 101, or just Google that error I'm getting and probably find a solution on Stack Overflow. This versus, okay, now I have to find some schedule in that expert's team to see how I can have a meeting with him to see how we can handle this problem. Generally, full stack is seen as a jack of all trades, and this goes hand in hand with being a master of none, because there isn't enough time in a day to learn everything. Yes, the current transition towards being full stack comes now after years of everybody specializing in whatever they've done, but that still means that you have developers or testers or ops or security guys who've invested 15 years in something and now are trying to broaden their horizons. You can't overnight learn another 15 years worth of expertise in something else. And that's perfectly fine, because nobody can do that. Like, there are only 24 hours a day that you can work with to be better at something. And that's not necessarily bad. But what exactly does full stack mean? What does it imply? Because I kept throwing words around. Usually it refers to the development, the stages in which a product is built, the development, the testing, the infrastructure, the continuous integration and delivery, logging and monitoring, and everything between, after, or before. And for somebody who's only tackled one of these things or only a few of these things throughout his professional life, all of this may seem challenging, because you don't really know how, or at least I, to begin with, wouldn't know how to start. Now, if I'm an infrastructure guy, do I now invest 3 months into learning development so I can also do that part, and then do I invest another 3 months into learning the second part? Well, there are certain tools that can give you like a kickstart into building a project with a full stack mentality, while still giving you enough headroom to learn as you go. And for this, I'd like to talk about AWS CodeStar. I know Raul talked about it before. It's not as horrible as he said. It does have its limitations, but it does also have its benefits. And I would say it's a great tool, not the only tool, because there are a bunch of them out there. I'm just pointing one out that can help you build an application with a full stack and the rapid application development mindset. What CodeStar is basically an AWS service which bundles together a bunch of other services all in one package. The Git repository, the build machine for which you normally use a separate EC2 machine, for the code pipelines, which is your alternatives to Jenkins or GoCD, CloudFormation for infrastructure as a code, Lambda for serverless, API gateway for managing resource routes, resource groups just to bundle everything together, so on and so forth. I can go into detail, and this isn't the full list. But what CodeStar allows you to do is, at the click of a button, more or less, have a full template of a project up and running, on top of which you afterwards build the application that you want to build. It allows you to, in a couple of minutes, have everything up and running, including testing, security, and whatever you would need for a mature product from day one, instead of working on my machine for months or years, and then tackling these issues when they might be a bit too late. It is a little bit of each. It's not all of these aren't the perfect implementations for what they do, and probably none of them is, because we can also have arguments, GoCD versus Jenkins, and it can be a never-ending discussions, but it's a good enough approach for all of them. And good enough doesn't mean a bad product. It means it allows you to get the job done and move forward in your implementation. What else? Oh, yes. I'm sure a bunch of you have encountered teams where they try to do everything perfectly. The moment, okay, now we need continuous delivery on our product. Well, how do we do it? Well, we hire 3 new DevOps guys because we don't know how to do it. We assemble that perfect Jenkins that has those agents that just do stuff magically. And you end up with a team of 50+ people where everybody is an expert in one little small thing. And you're not really focused on building your project anymore. You're focused on one of these small things. And what CodeStar, and again, other frameworks allow you to do, is just have everything up front, and you can focus on building your product. And a lot of these teams actually rarely see the light of day to be live or finished. Some do, but a lot of the time you invest that 15-man team with all of those resources that have everything in place, everything running perfectly for a product that never actually provides something of benefit to you or the client you're building it for. And again, this isn't the holy grail, so to say, because if I have a perfect answer, everybody would be using it. But this is a starting point on which you can start building upon. It's almost instant, an ecosystem of whatever you do to build a product. We have built it with Mission 4, and we've just started building implementations for an application that was live in 2 weeks, and we could actually send a link out to our customers, so to say, this is what we're building for you. It's secure over HTTPS and all of that wonderful development magic. You spin it up and focus on developing the actual business value of your team, not necessarily to decide things that are usually difficult to explain to a board of investors when you have to say, now we need to double our team to do nothing of business value. And like I mentioned, it's 5-10 minutes to have everything versus doing an ops team 1 year down the line where you have already started missing things or have built your application in such a way where it's difficult to adapt it to doing things proper. Because that's what we tend to do when we build things just on my machine. We tend to take shortcuts and not do it properly and end up with something that is either difficult to adapt or has to be rewritten. And I've been in those shoes before. But I actually want to show you how hard it can be. And for that, I'll do a live demo of how you can start a FullStack CodeStar project. So just 1 moment. This will be faster. Yeah. Because I'm one of those people that don't like trackpads. So let me do this. Logging into AWS, and I actually have planned to do it live, not just a video. CodeStar, region, create a project. So there's a plethora of templates to start from, depending on what you want to build. This is what CodeStar provides. You can write something in Go, no, just a normal HTML application, an Express application, Ruby, Django, so on and so forth. I'll go with a Node.js web application. I'll call it Tech Day Demo. I'll use code commit as a repo. I'll just click next. I'll just click next, skip this, and it's starting to build up. I'll just open myself a command line for when this actually finishes. All right. Okay. And what CodeStar provides you out of the box is everything in one place, including this dashboard that you see here that will be slowly populated. It also allows you to use an in-browser ID in case any of you have used Cloud9 before. It existed even before it got acquired by AWS. So you can have even a distributed team running everything on their laptops if you want to. It allows you to have a centralized wiki here. It integrates with third-party applications such as Jira. It automatically integrates with the Git repo you're using, in my case, code commit. It has integrated logging to CloudWatch for whatever you want to track in your application. And of course, everything is configurable afterwards to fit your needs. I'll just use it out of the box because it's good enough. Now I'm just waiting for the repo to be created. And this might take a few minutes. Do you have any questions so far while I'm waiting for this? Yes?
How many EC2 instances does this spin up, or what other services does this spin up in the background from a possible standpoint?
It uses the template I used is focuses on serving on HTML with a Lambda. It's similar to what Raul presented earlier. So the spin-up cost is quite low. The S3 bucket you pay by usage and quantity of data stored. So again, that is all because I'm just serving a static HTML application. Besides that, there is code committed code pipelines. You also pay by the minute as you use them, and code commit, I think you pay by the by user and by how much you interact with it. But everything being AWS as a service, the costs are quite restrictive. For example, the project that we are actually building within Haufe has a hefty-ish price tag, I think around 800 euros a month, but that's because 600 is static infrastructure that we need for certain use cases, specifically Neptune, which is a graphical database that we use for X, Y, and Z, DocumentDB, which we use for something else, but the application itself is quite bland. And this product that we've built started after a POC that me and a few colleagues built earlier, which is, again, a web application that works pretty much in the same way, just without the heavy load databases, that has a cost of running of about $9 a month. And that was 3 developers working for 3 months. So it was around $20, I think, for us building and shipping a product that works, had Dynamo behind it. With some of the drawbacks that Holger mentioned earlier, Dynamo is good for certain use cases. It's best fitted for situations where you have a mature product, not when you're doing something that dynamically. Now, what do we have here? Okay, I have the code. This is the repo, which I will just pull. Not pull, git clone. Besides this, you also see a view of the pipelines, of what exactly is going on, the code commit, the build machine, if something has to be executed, and the deployment. Deployment usually refers, in this case, to the CloudFormation template being applied, CloudFormation using change sets to manage everything, including rollbacks and the such. And okay, so this now works. Let me just open up an editor. Now, this works, but this will be the hello world demo that AWS provides. I want to show you how it would be to actually inject another code, so I'll just use create React app for that. How about npx? And I'll just build a hello world create React app out of this. Let me just open this up. Demo.
Sorry, that was way too fast for me. You had a Git repo with some code before you.
Yes, I will show the result in a minute. It's yes, this one.
This is outside AWS.
No, this right now is the template CoStar project that was built just within the 4 clicks that I waited for everything to spin up, including the CloudFormation template. This is what CoStar provides out of the box. It's a working application with HTTPS behind it. Everything just works. From this point on, you can clone the Git repo, which you have in code commit, and alter your application with whatever you actually try to build. This is the template for everything that you want to go for further on. You have.
So this was just the empty template.
Yes, this is the empty template, but it's already connected to pretty much everything a mature product would have. And on top of this, I just want to add a create React app, just so you can see what it implies. And it will actually take how am I with time? I think I have 20-ish minutes.
20.
Okay.
20 without questions.
20 without questions. Well, how about we just say that this works, and I show you the changes needed. And I actually prepare something just to be sure that I don't run out with time. It's just a matter of a lot of, it worked, perfect. So if I go into my app, npm start, this would be a standard React app that works on my machine using Facebook's create React app to get things up and running. And ta-da! This is another project I've just added to this repo. Now I want to push this thing to go live in the whole infrastructure with CloudWatch, logging, rollback, and everything that I've built beforehand. For this, I'll just close this. For this, I need a few changes. I'll cheat a bit just to be faster and look at the changes I need. I will be creating a new folder called Lambda, just to alter a bit the way that it normally works, in which I'd copy the HTML that it already serves. Where was it? What? This wasn't the folder. I need a folder. No, folder. Okay, and new file. And I'll just do index.html. And everything else I want to do, this is basically the script that runs on the build machine provided by AWS Code Build. I just want to inject the code required to build the React app. And the major differences for this is just this part. I want to export the public URL of the S3 bucket that's already attached by the template provided by CoStar, and npm install, npm run build, and copying the build index HTML to replace the default demo that exists here. And to do that, I will just do this because I can code really fast. And that should actually be the only change I need to do, the ones in build spec. And wait, no, it's missing the React app. Oops.
It's created in the root.
My bad.
When you're moving it right now.
Yep. I hope this works. No. And yeah, now I have it here. Do I? My app.
It's doing that.
But why isn't it showing as a diff? Moment. The gods of the live demo aren't with me today.
Take a look in Git.
Yeah, I'll just
and just add them.
It's on track. Lambda,
Okay.
Lambda in my.
blah blah blah.
You have a
Everything's
my
added.
app. In my app, you have a .git folder. Remove the .git folder from my app, from inside my app.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. What?
What codes me?
And pushed.
So now you're pushing the app that you changed locally back to the repository.
Yes, I pushed the addition of the React app I just created to the code commit repository. And if I now go back to CodeStar and refresh the page, I actually see the commit I did with the commit ID. I can go into it. The source already validated because this is just a Git pull that the machine is doing. It's building everything on the machine right now, after which it will apply the CloudFormation template. And for this, I actually will show you the one that's actually working because it will take 5 minutes to do everything. If I go to Tech Day Prep, where I did the exact same thing I did earlier, and it should load the damn dashboard. Load the damn dashboard.
Forgot to say Alexa.
Yes, Alexa, Alexa, load the goddamn dashboard. Yes, and this is live with an HTTPS URL and everything up and running, and it's the same way this will look like if I give it another 10 minutes. And it will take me a total of 15 minutes to have built a separate React tab that I injected in this whole ecosystem of an application. And at the same way, this is a new app, but if you already have a React app that's up and running, or an Angular, or whatever you want to build, you can easily inject it into an ecosystem like this. And look, everything I wanted to show you was that this is everything regarding a project. It's ops, it's testing, it's CI/CD, it's logging, it's monitoring, all of it in one big package with a nice dashboard. It's not the perfect, like you can go Kafka, you can go other magically things, but this is a good starting point. If you want to go the full stack route and don't know where to start, you can give it a shot. And now I can actually go back to the presentation and see where I left off. So this was just the demonstration of what I did. A bunch of templates, more are added as we go along. The project details actually showing the AWS services that will be used into building something like this, and the dashboard, which has everything in one place. Oh, you can also integrate with Jira or other third parties, depending on what you want to do. You have team management, where you can use IAM roles to actually give people within your company or by email access to this repo and access to everything. And CodeStar automatically manages the rights needed to read or write in the repo, to access the pipelines, to change the CloudFormation templates, and so on and so forth. And you have everything that's pretty much a mature product, and it works. Now, again, it's good, but it might not suit your use case. But you can always go big whenever you need it. Do you need more control? Switch code pipelines over to Jenkins. Do you not like the limitations of code commit? You can use GitLab or GitHub or whatever other platform you want. The sky is the limit. This is just the beginning. If you want to do everything and don't really know where to start, you can actually look over how things are built, just to have an idea of how everything works. And this isn't a silver bullet. It's not suited for all applications, for all products, or for all clients. You always have to evaluate best practices and always consider business value, which is more important than architecture, which is more important than code. Maybe you have a product that actually doesn't need such a big ecosystem of everything running. As we build B2B applications, kind of need everything, monitoring and the such. There are domains where you don't want to be so agile, like automotive, aviation, banking, and other things where you don't want to change things like that overnight and then just being live. Some implementation don't allow for this Netflix model. And again, the happy path that AWS provides into building everything might not be the best thing for your use case, because in the end, CodeStar is a sum of how AWS thinks you should build a product. And going back to full stack, do it for yourself. Do you want to start a new project at work? Do it in a full stack way. Try to tackle everything. Do you want a personal project? Maybe you want to build, I don't know, a portfolio or a picture application that you want to share with your family. Do everything yourself. Maybe you want to build something for your resume. You want to build an application. You want to apply for a job where you need to build something. It's one thing to have a zip sent over an email or a presentation where you fake building something, and another thing to just give a client, a possible investor or whoever, a live URL and say, this is the application I've built for you. It works. It's secure. You get no warnings. It's just everything there. You want to change? I'll do it now. Continuous delivery in 5 minutes. It's up and running. This is something that, and being a full stack developer, in the end, is something that you do for yourself, not because somebody is telling you to do it for the job. And all of this goes towards rapid application development, because I build an app quite fast. And in the current days, kind of gone are the 100-man teams that's only build one small thing. Now you need to build something fast and be in the market, or somebody else will beat you to it. Even like N24, they're trying to do something fast because somebody notices the flavor and the market need of what they're building, and competitors are piling up. Time to market is becoming essential from that point of view. Good enough doesn't mean a bad product. Yes, CodeStar has its limitations, but it doesn't mean that everything it's built is bad. It's actually quite good. It's just not as customizable in every way you want. And sometimes you don't want all of that. You don't want a Porsche or a Ferrari to go to the supermarket every day. It doesn't suit your use case. And security is more important than ever. Having an ecosystem where everything is already secured, you have logging, monitoring, security certificate and such in place from day one is a very big deal. And the takeaway I would like everybody to take from this talk is that being a full stack developer is a jack of all trades and a master of none, but still is much better than being just a master of one. And thank you. So I hope I didn't bore you. I tried to cover 3 different topics, and I await your answers now. If I can help you further, I'll actually go to that board myself and see how I can do that. But until then, answer questions. No, it's sleep up what? No. Thank you. Okay, how much time did I think this works good enough.
Yes.
Oh, I have present mode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No, present mode. The first
yes,
one.
Yes.
No, it's not 15
minutes.
Okay. No.
Thank you. How much time how do you spend during a week to become full stack? I'm still doing that. I don't know everything. I'd like to know everything because I like technology, and I just try to do things because I'm curious in doing them. I thought having everything in the cloud looked cool, so I just looked it up in either my free time or it worked, or I shoved it in with my manager that it would be cool to invest doing this, and I learned on the job, so to say. So I'm still doing it, and it's part of just how I work. I can't say I've ever been otherwise. It's just a matter of when I feel I saturate knowing a technology, I feel the need to learn more to the side. At the point where I knew enough of web development of Node.js, well, how about cloud web development? Because that sounds interesting. What would you tell a team member that argued that it makes much more sense if the expert guy, because it will be much faster? I would say that think about how things go in the long run, because yes, it's much faster now, but what does much faster mean? Because we're not building airplanes. Much faster usually means that an expert guy will do it in 20 minutes, whereas the non-expert guy will do it in 30 minutes. You have saved a total of 10 minutes that probably you'll just assimilate throughout the day, whereas you could have spread the knowledge throughout the team to have multiple members having that knowledge that previously just that one expert have, and no longer be dependent on that expert. Because if that expert becomes ill, leaves the company and the sort, you're in bad waters. Whereas everybody being able to handle the product that they build means that they can just handle it. Yes, the expert that does things gets sick and it will take them 3 times longer to do things, but they can fix a bad situation in 3 times longer versus not being able to fix it at all. And you will grow out of it. I mean, yes, you can ask the expert, but why not learn? I would love to learn whatever somebody who is smarter than me does. Is the CodeStar approach possible with different table for testing and production? Yes. You actually provide separate URLs for whatever you're building. The architecture on the product that we have has every single component of the application, meaning almost every page, as a separate CodeStar project. The fact that they're on the same account doesn't mean much because you're linking URL links and credentials and authorization and API keys and Cognito user pool that allows you to know that you're linked to the same application. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the same user account.
But it has to be the same AWS account.
Depends on how you build it. you can build something that doesn't have to be on the same AWS account. And it depends. I would say I could do it if given enough time. How hard can it be, were my famous last words. and that's the perfect question on the first answer to the first question. How much time do you spend? I just say, how hard can it be, and then just don't sleep at night. Any other question towards everything that came up? How many of you people consider yourselves to be full stack or would like to strive towards that? And is it bad? Is it more
the approach that you are telling us? I think.
Sorry?
I thought more than a full stack developer who's able to develop everything, but you mentioned also to be able to test it. So you have the full control and full responsibility in a team. So for me, it's another definition of full stack. That would be, I would say, I can say it's the definition, but I am subjective in that, so it's my definition. Yeah, that's how I see full stack. Shouldn't just be the next plus on your senior and then your architect and then your full stack, because that's just a more superior name. The concept itself is to be able to manage the full stack or whatever is implied into building your product. Yeah, but I'm also asking me is, does that stop where you develop, or the things you develop, or the domain is important too? For instance, if you develop a payroll application, well, it always stops full stack. It always depends. I would say it's always good to know everything that's going on, but there are domains where you just need a lot of experts. If you're building banking software or payroll software, maybe you do need somebody who's ridiculously good at security because that's your main source of income and you can't afford it. So it depends. It depends on what you're building. We at Haufe build a lot of HR-ish applications that are so critically intensive from many points of view. So maybe we can afford being a jack of all trades. And like I said, it's not about you lose the expertise. It's about just looking abroad. It's that T-shape of knowledge. It's just about also having a wide view on things, not just an expert view on one thing. Yeah, but honestly, I'm not able to tell you if I think that I'm full stack or not. This probably I'm not either.
When did you write your last test?
When did I write my last test? I don't know.
A year ago?
Well, I never said I have to like everything that's part of the stack.
It's just...
Sorry, questions. How is the moral going when you see new stuff every day? Do you get scared of how many things you need to do? Yes, I am terrified, like holding this presentation. But it makes me curious. I'm just a curious person. When I see something new, I'm usually thinking, now, how would this affect the use cases I've handled in the past? Or maybe I get an idea of doing something in a different way that I do now. I just like reading, and technology is my thing. So it's not necessarily scary, but I like. I had discussions earlier today about being full stack, and like I said, do it for yourself, because at some point everything gets automated. I made a full ecosystem with 3 clicks. At some point, you might build a product with 3 clicks. You still, as a developer, as somebody wanting to have business value, you always want to be above the line of what improvements will come in the future. You don't want to be in the situations where the factory is closed because now you have machinery. The same way will happen to software development at some point. And I'm doing this because I want to keep improving myself and always be above the threshold of I might have a problem. So from that point of view, yes, it might scare me a bit, and I'm doing this just to feel safe. I think it's anything else.
Just one.
Yes.
Another question. How do you handle technical debt that is due to lack of knowledge of full stack developers? I mean, it's the more technologies you use, the more you have to know about certain technologies.
Yes, but you must be aware it's good to have a broad view on things, but you mustn't jump after every unicorn. You always need to assess, like, okay, this sounds cool, but is it useful and is it worth investing time? Yes, I read about every new thing that comes out, but for some things I just read the title and subtitle and that's it. You do need to be aware on how you must invest your effort, because it's not just about not being able to be an expert in everything. Even not being able to know good enough about everything, there's not enough time in a day. So you need to pick your battles. If that answered your question.
I've made the experience that in some teams sometimes it's difficult to establish this culture when not everybody is willing to make the effort to be good enough in all aspects, which is hard. I actually understand.
It is hard, and the purpose of this talk was, I don't know, encouragement. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's not that you will be fired. It's not that it's impossible. I'm an average Joe that does a bunch of things. Everybody can do that. Don't be afraid that I will get outside of my comfort zone and I have extra work. But if you do draw the line, at some point, yes, you do need to get outside of your comfort zone, because you are being paid to do a job. And well, if a lot of people will do that job better, you do need to worry. So why not just have an open mindset and keep learning? We are in a profession where you do need to keep learning. Okay.
Time.
I'm over time. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope I didn't bore you too much.